So
Hello, everyone. This is Wes Miller with Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football and proud member of Blue Wire Hustle. Join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news around the league, predictions for next week's matchups, and more. And what is up, everybody? It's Wes. Week 3 is in the books. Some real interesting games that occurred. And, last week we did our first show under the Blue Wire Hustle moniker, but this is our first show at full strength under that moniker. And so we are super stoked to be a part of that and really excited to see how things progress with that. So, exciting week's worth of games. And as always, to talk about things with me, Jesse, what's going on? How have you been?
My heart has had better days. I will never get back the moments that I lost off of my life, but we'll get there. We'll talk about it.
Jesse, you're so dramatic. Y'all, come on now.
Stressful.
You're being ridiculous.
A close game is not exactly the norm for Bama fans. So, anyway, Matt, what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Not much. I'm good. Just glad my boys took care of business this weekend and hoping.
Yeah,
hoping that we can make it competitive this weekend.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about that one.
Glad you are, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
I hear. Hey man, I understand. All right, yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about those games from last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, one of the first games that we're going to talk about is one that I didn't expect to have to talk about necessarily, and that was the Chattanooga Mocs versus Kentucky. Yeah. So the final score ended up being 28-23, Jesse getting the point in this one. But like I said, a surprisingly close game. This game was like back and forth. Like you were expecting, Kentucky is going to get it rolling eventually. But it just never really happened in terms of them pulling away by a significant margin. Will Levis had a big touchdown pass later on to make it 21-16. That was to Isaiah Cummings, and then Tyrell Ijan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. Anyway, he had a 95-yard interception return to give Kentucky a little breathing room. So it looked like things were going to kind of go favor Kentucky, and they would pull away there. But Mocs wouldn't go away, made it close 28-23, but Kentucky manages to hang on. Despite rushing for their fewest yards since they played Bama last year, in which game I think they had 59 yards rushing that game.
Something like that, yeah.
So, not a good performance here. Unexpected. Let's start with you, Jesse, on this one. What are your thoughts? Obviously, Kentucky, we never really know, right? Especially this early in the season. But what do you make of this?
Yeah, I think a lot of Kentucky fans and other fans had some hope for them, after the first two games, thought that it was going in the right direction. But yeah, the inconsistency, and of course they did win, but still the inconsistency in performance, I think, is an issue. Levis did throw 2 interceptions. That's not great. You can't have that. And across the board, I mean, they are very, very close as far as stats go. Total yards are very close. Mm-hmm. First downs, time of possession, it's all very, very close. So for me, I don't know if they went in and they thought we're fine. It's Chattanooga. It's not a big deal. And didn't play as tuned up as they should have, but not a great look for Kentucky. I would imagine that practice with Coach Stoops is going to be a little rough this week.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be eating any bananas whole with the peel on and everything in celebration.
Clearly,
this
it's
week.
not working.
Why are we bringing that up again?
So, Matt, you were smiling earlier, and I'm a little scared. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's nice to see a University of Tennessee team making Kentucky work for it. We will.
Wait.
What? Thanks, folks. I'll be here for another hour and a half. Yeah, I was shocked. I really was. I was expecting Kentucky to come in and beat the brakes off Chattanooga, and then Chattanooga turns around and actually makes it a competitive football game. Here's the thing that kind of stood out to me. I went back and looked at some quotes that were said before this game. And Levis was quoted as saying, and get this, he said, quote, "It all starts with preparation. It all starts with preparation, and Friday we didn't have a good day of practice. You don't want that to leak in today, but obviously it did. So again, apparently Friday they did not have a good day of practice, and it was kind of the writing on the wall there. I'd like to know what the heck happened with Chris Rodriguez, because he was incredibly quiet against UTC, 13 carries for 46 yards when he absolutely annihilated Missouri the week before for 206 yards. Like I don't understand where the disconnect was. And again, I think that comes down to preparation and execution. It sounds like, and please forgive me when I say this, Kentucky fans, sounds like Coach Stoops didn't keep him focused. And it almost came back to bite him. And the other thing that kind of was interesting about this particular game is if Kentucky doesn't turn the ball over 3 times, maybe it's not this close. Yeah. Maybe it turns into a rout. But Kentucky just played sloppy at the beginning and just left that door open and gave them too much of an opportunity. And obviously the Moccasins took advantage.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think it's one of those deals where, and we see this with teams that are growing, right? Where sometimes they have games like this against a lesser opponent and it's difficult to focus. You think that you're just going to be able to walk in and walk out with a W. And, obviously we know that's not the case. And so, for Coach Stoops, I don't know, in a way, games like this can be helpful because you still got the win, but yet you have a huge coaching opportunity this week to light a fire under the team. So it could work out. Obviously.
This whole week across the board, not just with Kentucky, we'll see it, I think, with a lot of teams. This was like exposure weekend.
Right.
If there was weaknesses, they were exposed, whether you got a W or not. That was the theme.
My gosh, it was like head scratching weekend. I can't tell you how many games I watched this weekend and I was just like, what?
Even NFL, it was like the same way.
What I thought I knew, I did not at all. So anyway, so that's it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back from that. I mean, obviously it was a win, but just after that poor performance. But let's get to
how does real quick. How does y'all know who Funny Man is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's he say when a team? Oh, I remember. Struggle win.
Yes.
We need to clip that and tag him.
Definitely one of those. Oh man. All right. So speaking of Bama fans, let's go ahead and talk about Alabama at Florida in the swamp. Bama winning this one, close one, 31-29. And Jesse, I know you're about to have a heart attack over there during this one. I want you to just paint a picture for the listeners. What was it like watching this game for you? And then what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
It was my first game this season out watching it somewhere.
I wouldn't watch another one out. I would.
No, I will not. I will not venture back.
It's always risky anyway, right? So
it is. I didn't have great viewpoint at the TV either, which was not great. So I was there and, we had a couple other Bama fans there, but this is like a very large 2-story outdoor bar on the water. And I'm there and I can hear someone cheering for Florida and I can't find them. And my boyfriend can see me looking for them in the crowd. And he's like, "You are not going to choose violence.
You can't
You are
find
not
them?
going to choose violence."
Like, what does that mean? Are you going to find them and go talk to them or something?
No. So I have a bad habit of starting verbal altercations in places. It's not great.
You're that fan.
I can't fathom you doing that. I can't.
It's my toxic trait. And he's like, you're not going to do it. You're not. And we would like walk past somebody. And if they had on like an Auburn shirt or Clemson or or Florida, he was like, don't say it. Don't say it. I feel like those commercials where it's like, you're turning into your parents. It's like, we all see it. We all see it. And he's like, don't do it. And I'm like,
I just want to know, what were you going to do if you found them? Were you just going to go up and say, stop cheering?
Like, just needed to see who they were. And I needed them to stop. And I don't know. I had no plan. Had no plan. I had no backup.
But a confrontation was impending. So
it was, but no, it was stressful. Obviously very happy in the first half and even the first quarter. I mean, we built a 21-3 lead after one quarter, but
yeah,
we couldn't stop the momentum that the Gators offense got, especially through the run. The ground game was, I think, huge for Florida. They had a 99-yard touchdown drive in the second half. They really did well. And to me, and I think Coach Saban said it too post game, I just did not feel like our defense was where they should be, where they had been. I felt like they were so lights out against Miami. And then we talked about kind of stumbling. Not obviously we won against Mercer, but still was not the performance that we thought we were going to have. And Coach Saban before that game said we had a bad practice. And so I don't want it to continue to trend down. I want them to see this game and really have it light a fire under them. We relied really heavy on our passing game, which is not surprising after watching the last two games for Bama. We rushed for just 91 yards on 27 carries. Bryce Young threw 233 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was 22 of 35. Mechie had 6 receptions. So, I mean, we were doing well on the passing game, but I would definitely like us to do a little better. Again, I think it was our defense. And Florida, they actually had a pretty strong play from Emory Jones. I was a little surprised. And he completed 17 of 27 passes for 181 yards and also rushed for 80 yards and a touchdown on 19 attempts. So overall, I think, like I just said, this was exposure weekend. I think everyone thought that Bama's defense was going to be great. And we clearly have some holes, and we clearly have some things that we really need to clean up. And we need to not drink the rat poison of being number one, because that did not help us at all. It was a very scary day in the swamp.
So taking you back to the 2-point conversion, what's going through your mind as they're lining up?
I thought I was going to puke. I'm like, everyone at my table is talking, and I'm just like,
yeah.
And I'm like,
in the
unwell, guys.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it was 21-3 before you could blink, basically. And then I just honestly expected that was going to be the trend of the game. I expected to be ready to take a nap at halftime and, just like, whatever.
We were ordering bacon wrapped scallops. Like, we were there. We were in it.
Is that the sign of like a victory?
I was feeling
bacon wrapped
good.
scallops.
I was like, we're fine. Let's get the barbecue bacon wrapped scallops. Okay, let's have a beer. We're all chilling. And then all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, what happened?
Right.
In the midst of barbecue sauce, something has gone amiss.
Well, after Florida's first touchdown, which was a 26-yard run by Malik Davis, the Chris Howard PAT failed, and that ended up being the difference in the game. And they even mentioned it on air at the time. As much as I hate to talk about Gary Danielson being correct, he even said at the time, he was like, what if that ends up being the difference in the game? And boy, if it wasn't.
It does all too many times. It is the difference. And as a Bama fan, we get it. It sucks to miss a kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another thing, so talking about that 2-point conversion, I was interesting play call because I'm trying to remember what the specific play was. It was like a designed run up the middle, wasn't it? Or so like a quarterback delay or something like that. Something strange.
It was strange, but it was like, did you think it would work? Obviously.
Which is not the only questionable play call in a critical situation that we're going to talk about in this show. There's some interesting ones like that. And I was listening to some other people talk about this. Like, there's these offensive geniuses. Like we talk about Dan Mullen, and as crazy as he is a great offensive mind. But then you get a situation like this where you just look around like, what was that? So I don't know. I was kind of shocked that Florida was even in this game. Surprisingly, again, a surprise that their defense was able to get some stops when they needed to. I like to make fun of Todd Grantham because he was terrible with us. And his, coaching style has kind of not necessarily benefited most of the people that he's been with throughout the years. Sure, the defense is going to be intense. They're going to be flying around the field, but not necessarily in the right position. So, I kind of like to make fun of that, but hey, they got a few stops when they needed to. And I was not expecting that. I don't really know what like the real takeaway was from this game. I was like, so is this a sign of like chinks in the armor for Bama? Or is this like a sign that Florida's better than we thought?
A combination of both, I think. Like I said, I just really feel like it was exposure weekend for good or bad. Like maybe Florida rise to the challenge and they can really beef up their defense better than it was last year. And maybe, as much as it hurts me to say, Alabama needs to just take a step back and, look inward.
Well, yeah, and I that too, but I also think that a lot of people were ready to basically write in Georgia's name for the SEC East. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case now, especially when you see a performance like this. And we were ready to say Emory Jones is not the guy, and he had a good play in this game. So don't worry, Matt. I haven't forgot you. So what you got, man?
I let me go on record as saying this. Jesse, you may want to cover your ears or take your earpods out or whatever you're doing. I was disappointed Florida lost this game. Only because I love chaos and I like seeing a number one team lose to somebody. I think this was a case of Florida playing up and Bama getting cocky is what I think it was. Bama has been used to steamrolling people. They'll continue steamrolling people. But Florida was on a different level on Saturday night. I'm hoping that comes back to play this weekend when they play Tennessee. But we'll talk about that when we get to the preview.
Somebody said something. Matt, did you send it to us? That somebody talking trash about Bama and how anybody that thinks Alabama's elite is insane. Was it you that sent it?
No, that wasn't me, because I would be laughing at that person because Bama is elite.
That was
Tennessee fan. I can say that.
That was posted on Saturday Down South, but it was credited to Chris Doring, the former Florida player and current male model or whatever they.
Yeah, that's what it was. For some reason, I thought, Matt, it was you that sent it. But
no, I would never even begin to dream to say something so erroneous and irrelevant as that statement. The thing that really kind of, because I didn't have a chance to watch this game, and now that I found out that Gary Danielson was calling it, I'm so glad I did not, because again, Gary Danielson is a horse's ass. We get the blink button ready there, Wes.
Oh no, I'm marking this one explicit.
Okay, good. Go ahead. I think you got to have a couple more cuss words here.
I think you're right, but what the heck?
Here's the kicker. 11 penalties for 75 yards against Alabama. I would love to see the stat line, because I feel like we've talked a lot about Bama penalties over the last 3 games. It seems like that's happening quite a bit. Along with that, I'm curious as to how Saban's going to respond going forward. He had a presser, I think today or yesterday, where he discussed that he was obviously not happy with this performance. Not to mention the fact that, Bama has all of these great players and they played great for a quarter, but they can't maintain that intensity. We've seen that a couple of times this season where they've looked really, 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 really solid, and then all of a sudden that intensity starts to tank. That's an interesting little thing. But here's the big takeaway I take from this. And Jesse's not going to like this again, but I think that this game proved that Bama is beatable. You have to play on a different level. You have to play like a madman, and you have to take some risks, and you have to have the dice go your way. But Bama is beatable. They are not a juggernaut that can't be beaten. So I think that's the big takeaway from this. It'll be interesting to see what happens going forward because, again, Bama has elite players, elite coaching. But I think that this proved that they were beatable this season. We'll see if anybody can rise to the challenge. But I'm going to go ahead and put this pin in the board. I don't think it'll be Georgia.
I mean,
who I'm worried that it might be?
Who's that?
Who do I hate most of all?
Wait. Oh.
Texas A&M?
No.
I don't.
You know who I think
maybe.
What I would be worried about is in not this weekend, but the following weekend.
Ole Miss, that's true. God.
Ole Miss has got a little bit of defense now, and if they can outrun you, that would be such. Mwah, que bella. Chef's kiss. Mwah,
hey, I'm not saying they're going to win.
Great.
But I think it's going to be one of those like ones for the ages, like a barn burner.
What if
I'm going to be
Kiffin
so unwell?
Is the guy that breaks the Saban curse and is the first assistant to beat him?
I will not be on the show that week. I'll be gone. I don't know where I'll be.
You have to. Gone. Poor Matt comes on here like every week, and Tennessee's lost, and he's a trooper. And after one, you can't sit it out. Come on.
I know. I'm kidding, but I'll be so unwell.
I cannot even begin to describe the excitement. The
Bama Nation, start your prayers.
Oh my God, it would be so great.
I won't look for a fight. I won't look for a fight in a bar. I won't.
Yes. I just want to see a good game. I think it's going to be one.
I'm going to do this right now, Wes. You write this down. If Ole Miss finds a way to beat Bama, I will buy an Ole Miss shirt and I will wear it proudly.
Okay, writing it down. An Ole Miss shirt. Wow.
I will drink wine on the show out of the bottle.
I will spend money on and send money to the University of.
You're gonna buy one of Lane Kiffin's LFG shirts, aren't you?
Yes, I will, and I will wear it the very next week on the podcast. But they got to win first.
Right.
They do. Okay.
All right. Well, hey, I'm kind of even more excited about that one now. So.
Nope.
All right, let's get to Mississippi State at Memphis. Memphis winning this one. And yeah, Jesse is the only one to pick them. So not having faith in the conference helped you that time. So,
I didn't want to be right.
Yeah, no,
you shouldn't have been right.
Yeah, and that is the truth, as we'll see here shortly. So actually, I was a little bit surprised, though, because Mississippi State actually kind of dominated this game, really, if you look at the stats. And what I want you guys, and you've probably already seen it, is the absolute video game stats that Will Rogers has. He completed 50 passes.
I saw that.
50 for 419 yards, 3 touchdowns. Of course, I mean, this is not unusual for a Mike Leach offense, I suppose. But I mean, the fact that they threw it almost 70 times is just, as a Georgia fan who we were traditionally run first, pass second, that just boggles the mind. So, but yeah, Mississippi State's defense, they did pretty well against Memphis's, highly powered offense, or it's been touted as such. And like we said, offense for the game was lopsided. Mississippi State 468 to Memphis's 246. Memphis had a turnover. Mississippi State even controlled time of possession, like 37 to 32 ish. And then first downs, Mississippi State 26 to Memphis's 12. However, the only thing that counts
more points.
is the score.
They got the stat. Yeah, the stat that mattered is the one where they won.
And unfortunately, they came up short on that one. So a super weird punt return, which I don't know if the listeners have seen this. Yeah, and so it was returned 94 yards by Memphis. Mississippi State player. So it bounced off like a guy's foot. Another guy came sliding in to the ball where it had come to rest. And he did that deal where, he grabbed the ball with his hand, but it was pressed against the ground. He didn't pick it up. You know what I mean? And so I guess he thought, okay, I put my hand on the ball. I've possessed the ball and I'm good. Well, the ref even dropped his little bean bag and kind of signaled. However, the Memphis player, what's his name? Calvin Austin. He comes zooming in, grabs the ball, and returns it through all the bewildered players, 94 yards. And so, all right, so SEC issued a statement on this, as they've had to do multiple times recently.
They were busy.
I'm telling you, their office is like just typing away all Saturday. They issued a tweet after the game arguing that the punt return should have been reviewed after the back judge, part of the SEC crew, signaled to stop the clock after the punted ball stopped moving. Signal went unseen, and that actually just let him play it, I guess, even after his little signal or whatever. However, that's actually not even like the most egregious, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Like, there were 2 number 4s on the field for Memphis throughout this whole play, and they didn't see that. So that should have been a penalty, and none of that should have ever happened. Yeah, truth.
What a weekend.
I know. And obviously looking at the score, that was the difference. And so officiating crew cost them the game on those 2 missed calls. The inadvertent signal should have stopped the play, and then the duplicate uniform numbers. So they just totally messed up on that one. Matt, I want to start with you first on this one. What are your thoughts on just all of this?
Let me go on record as saying that was the most ridiculous like screw up I've ever seen in a college football game. Guy downs the ball. The judge throws the beanbag down saying the ball is at that spot. And then Home Skillet comes and picks it up and takes off with it, and nobody whistled the play dead. Now, every football game I've ever seen, when the other team catches the punt, they down it. The whistle blows, and that's it. Nobody blew a whistle. I don't understand what happened there. Memphis isn't an awful team. This is an undefeated Memphis team. So the fact that Memphis was able to roll this out doesn't shock me too much. I mean, granted, they've got wins against Nicholls State and Arkansas State, which, by the way, take that, Butch. Sorry, red.
Not bitter.
Flames. Sorry. But this isn't a Memphis team that's awful. So, and Mississippi State has struggled. But this shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. It should have been played. It should have been called dead. And here's the kicker: is not only did they screw up the call, nobody in the booth said, "You know what? Maybe we should go back and look at this to see if the ball was gone." What? How does that happen? Play. Yeah, like that's the game deciding touchdown. How the heck do you screw that up? And so I'm just like, okay, all right. I reckon kudos to Memphis for pulling that one off. Oh man, I tell you, SEC. We've talked a lot about SEC officiating. I feel like over the last 2 or 3 years, and I feel like it's getting worse and worse every year, and that's not a good sign.
No.
And that's very disconcerting.
And it's embarrassing.
It definitely is. By the way, I want to switch gears real quick to talk about Coach Leach. Yeah. Coach Leach had a quote after the game that I thought would kind of fit into our Mike Leach kind of pantheon of little things that he says that are just kind of entertaining but don't really have any substance. Listen to this quote, sometimes you try to boost morale, sometimes morale doesn't need to be boosted. Now you need to boost something, but it's not always morale that needs to be boosted. And between now and Sunday, I'm going to figure out what it is that needs to be boosted, and whether I'm right or not, we're going to boost something. What?
I love it.
I want that on a shirt. I want it across my chest on a t-shirt, because that is the best football quote ever.
Yeah, I read that and I was like,
inspirational thoughts with like Mike Leach.
If Coach Drinky tried to pull that off, he would blow his aorta out. It would just explode, and he'd drop dead on the sideline. But Mike Leach rattled that off like no problem, because it's Mike freaking Leach.
Because it just comes to his mind and out his mouth. Just man. He also said, I think Memphis played more mature than we did. I don't know exactly what that means, but they were more advanced than we were.
Oh, I swear the man.
This is why. Like, I don't care. Like, it's just the sheer entertainment factor. And I honestly, I feel bad that they lost, because we have to keep this guy in the league for stuff like that.
I know. I know. It makes me
So
sad. But this was another like failed 2-point conversion too. I think we saw, I don't know how many failed 2-point conversions we saw this week, but
A lot of that going around.
this was another one. Can't have that.
yeah. Did you have any more thoughts, Jesse, on the game itself? Or
I mean, no, it was sad to see the score. It made me sad.
yeah.
I mean, and the
I thought it was
officiating
funny.
is huge. I just had Mike Leach quotes mostly.
So I've got to go find that quote because I want to hear it. Because as with most Mike Leach quotes, it's not just the words; it's the delivery that gets
His intonation of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to boost things.
Yeah. And it's just like as only he can do. It's like, oh yeah, this is classic. So
And the reporter's probably like, I don't really know what like a follow-up question is to that.
we were saying like 2 or 3 years before he even got in the SEC, Mike Leach is a national treasure. So
He is. By the way, I need to print that off and give it to the language arts teachers at my school.
Yeah.
Just to let them pull that thing apart and be like, just tell me where the dream went awry, because I'm curious what you think. What's your professional opinion on this particular thing?
You know what I would
Their
really
red
love to see?
would.
I would love to see that sentence diagrammed. I want to see it.
No.
Oh my God.
I don't think I can do it.
I don't even hold on. There's no chance in heck that you could diagram that sentence out.
I was like, it's going to be like 5 different
It'd be too
pages.
Not it would have like 16 different subjects. Your brain.
That's something that the teachers, if they want to keep their kids busy and they don't want to deal with them, put that on the board and say, diagram this.
That's an idea for tomorrow.
That's busy work.
I love it. All right, let's talk about Auburn at Penn State, which is the evening game. Penn State won this one 28-20. Matt's the only one to pick Penn State, so he gets the point.
Whiteouts are a different beast, man.
Nuts.
If that game
was wild.
If that had been a regular game, Auburn probably would have beat them by 2 scores. But the fact that it was a whiteout,
I knew people that I graduated with, or graduated a year after me, that were there wearing Penn State stuff.
Yeah, I saw that was the thing. Some Bama fans going up there just to root against Auburn.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Y'all are petty. Don't be petty.
Don't loop me into this crowd. I start bar fights. I don't travel.
That's right. Yeah, so like Tank Bigsby, unbelievable player, great stat line, 23 carries, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bo Nix, we've talked about it. It's just, and also his the change or the difference in his performance from home versus away is also vastly different as well. And I think it kind of showed this game as well. I don't really think he's the answer. I just don't. So now that said, we were talking about the questionable calls earlier. When it's 4th and goal on the 2-yard line and you got a mobile quarterback, I think you just got to roll him out, let him make some decisions. Maybe he can run it in. Maybe he can, as he's rolling across, he can find the open man. But you don't throw a fade to the corner. That's what you don't do.
Oh, Wes, let me interrupt you, because you do throw a fade if you have a quarterback that can make that throw, and has shown you that you can make that throw in a game situation. Bo Nix cannot make that throw.
Right, you got to play to his strengths.
Exactly. So that play call in that particular situation doesn't make sense, because Bo Nix is not the guy. You're not that guy, pal.
But it also
he's not the guy to just make a decision on the fly. Like he's not good in clutch situations.
There were a couple of times he chunked the ball up, and I was like, where are you throwing it to, dude? Because there was one where he had a guy open on the sideline, and he was trying to put it like on his inside shoulder so he could catch it here, but the ball's over here.
Oh, I saw that where it went over,
and the receiver had to turn all the way around. Like
one time he didn't even see the ball.
That's the play I'm talking about. I was like, I don't even know what you're throwing at. And again, I'm not going to sit here and bash Bo Nix, because he had I'm sure he feels awful about things, but it's just, I don't understand how in West, we talked about this, who's the offensive coordinator for Auburn right now?
Mike Bobo,
baby. And so there's your Mike Bobo showing up again.
But see, that's the thing, is that in true Mike Bobo fashion, it'll call like a great game. They'll have a lot of great plays. And then like just in a critical situation like this, there's a play call. And again, you're like, what? What was that?
But Bo Nix too, if you watched Bo Nix on the sideline, anytime they panned to him, you could tell he was not up for that pressure.
He was a little
started.
He's on the sideline with a towel over his head like this.
He had his helmet at one point and had chunked it on the ground. Like he's down like this. Yeah. He is not the guy that can handle that amount of pressure, especially like Matt was saying, in a whiteout. That's even more pressure than a normal football game. But he typically, as we've seen, it just starts to crumble. And you can't have that. You need somebody that is, you're like a duck. It just rolls off your back, because you can't show people that they're getting to you, because then the fans are seeing that, the other team's seeing it, and they're like, oh yeah, this is working. Yeah.
Well, to his credit, he didn't have any picks, but like we were saying, not some good decisions, not very accurate on some others. Now, Brian Harsin, as a head coach is going to do, he defended the play call. He said Nix actually did have options, but just went with what he saw. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to say that, to defend his coaches, to defend the play calling. Now, obviously, this loss to a quality opponent, I don't think it's going to hurt Auburn. I think in AP, they only dropped to 23. They were 22, I think, and they dropped to 23. Yeah. It wasn't bad. And obviously, it's out of conference too. It's not a conference loss, so we'll see how they do once the SEC schedule heats up. So,
by the by, guys, Auburn, and this is an interesting stat. Auburn is 1-5 against top 25 teams since last year. That's pretty rough. So, in order to make Auburn fans feel better, I went out and I got a couple things for you. Hold on just a minute.
Oh wow.
Okay. All right.
Matt, you're a giver.
I am. I'm such a giver. So first off, here's a book for you. This is a third serving of chicken soup for the soul, because obviously you guys need a little bit of what's it say on here? Hold on. To open the heart and rekindle the spirit. I really feel like that'll be beneficial for you. This footprints on my heart section is actually really, really good. So you're going to want to pay attention to that. So that's pretty good. And then also I made you a nice hot cup of tea to go with your book. So you guys can enjoy that and get some
coffee meow.
Yeah. And then also, we'll send some thoughts and prayers your way, because that's a rough loss. It's really rough loss.
It is.
It is rough. And we were talking about really bad calls. Mm-hmm. The one in this game where they punted on third down because they were just like, we don't know what.
SEC Shorts, if you haven't seen it this week, you got to watch, because it's too accurate. And they didn't even talk about Mississippi State. So they could have had even more of a field day.
No, for those that didn't see it, it was third down. It was supposed to be third down, and they messed up. And they had, instead of second down, they had it as third down. So they ended up punting on an actual third down.
It's like I said before, it's embarrassing. And it's just each week is like something different. And also the targeting thing. Why
did you bring it up, Wes? I had forgotten about it. It's such a
both players, because here's the deal. If both players, so the offensive guy is literally diving, he's low. What is the defender supposed to do?
He's not supposed to do anything. You got to keep the guy out of the end zone. And the cat led with his shoulder for the most part. It was incidental contact on the helmets. If you want to, and I said it when we talked about it, you want to call a penalty there, a helmet-to-helmet contact penalty? Sure, go ahead. But you can't eject that kid from the football game for making that play. He's doing everything he can to keep that guy out of the end zone.
Absolutely. Exactly. That garbage play was in. Well, and then they're like, okay, we're going to review it. And I'm sitting on the couch at this point. And I'm like, oh, they're going to review it. It's fine. Like, I get if you're watching it in real time, sure, you're going to call it, but they'll review it. It'll be fine. And then they come back and they're like, ruling on the field has been confirmed. And I was like, I'm sorry. Pardon?
Yeah. And I just go back to, in the position that the offensive player is in, diving into the end zone, there's literally, so the defender's job is to keep him out of the end zone. There's literally nothing else he could have done differently on that play.
The thing too about like admitting to mistakes about it being a third down instead of fourth down, SEC did come out again, very busy weekend for them. And they acknowledged it, and they said that it wasn't just the crew on the field. The replay booth was consulted to confirm the down prior to the punt. The replay booth had the down as fourth down as well. The error was discovered during the media timeout that followed the punt, and by rule, it could not be corrected at that time. Honey, what is y'all doing?
I don't get it. It makes no sense.
How many times did we see? I mean, you just listed a couple where they could have got it right with review. The Mississippi State game before, they should have reviewed it. And
did all of the officials just get hammered before the game?
It's just
like,
could be. I don't know what they're doing up there, but it wasn't the right thing. So my gosh.
Woof.
Awful.
All right, let's talk about some of these less competitive games, and then I'm going to go through them.
Blowouts, Wes. Use the right terminology. You got it labeled on the screen as blowouts.
Let's we'll get through these, and then
that man said less competitive. I'm gonna start calling you Coach Drinky with that kind of talk.
Oh man, I'm trying to look out for everyone's feelings here on the podcast. Anyway, all right. So and I had Georgia as one of these games too. So hey, whatever. All right, so there was New Mexico at Texas, A&M. A&M winning this one 34-0. I got the point. Southeast Missouri State, the Redhawks at Mizzou. Mizzou winning this one 59-28. Matt getting the point. And then next we had Tennessee Tech versus Tennessee. Don't worry, Matt. We can come back to this one.
There's really not a lot to talk about. Tennessee beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, to a 56-0. Matt got the point.
I think that's our first 50 burger in like 8 years. Like I can't remember the last time Tennessee put up 50+ points. Keep going. I'm gonna look.
Okay. I actually got a question about that game too, so we'll come back to it. Georgia Southern was the next one at Arkansas. Arkansas winning that one 45-10. Matt getting the point in that one. Next was South Carolina at Georgia. Georgia winning this one 40-13. Jesse getting the point in this one. And I have something to say about that one too. Central Michigan at LSU. LSU winning this one 49-21. This was another one where we were tied. We had to do the math. I got the point on this one.
It's funny how those weird ones keep coming down to you winning, Wes.
Hey, it's right there in black and white. Okay,
just saying.
He bolded it.
Something's not right.
I don't want. There's going to be. Yeah, we are on the level here. So, all right. Tulane at Ole Miss. Ole Miss winning this one 61-21. Matt Corral accounting for 7 total touchdowns in this game, 3 passing, 4 rushing. And then, the final one of the day was Stanford at Vanderbilt. I held out hope that perhaps Vanderbilt might be able to pull off some kind of upset, but in the end, couldn't get it done. Stanford winning this one pretty big, 41-23. I got the point in this one. So let's go back to Tennessee Tech at Tennessee. What stats you got on that one?
Last 50 burger that Tennessee had was against East Tennessee State when they beat them 59-3 in 2018. So it's been relatively recent, but still.
Yeah. Well, so I got to ask you, Hendon Hooker, passing for almost 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Obviously I know it's Tennessee Tech, but from what he showed you, do you think that you have a better chance to win with him under center? You're hesitating, which
I don't know. Listen, it's so hard to compare what you're seeing against Tennessee with Tennessee and Tennessee Tech versus what you're going to see this weekend with Tennessee and Florida. Now, is Hooker the guy? I don't know. I know Harrison Bailey got a couple of snaps. I think he actually had a touchdown drive, if I remember correctly. But then again, everybody had a touchdown drive on Saturday against Tennessee Tech. I don't know. I want to say he looked pretty good in a couple different spots. I mean, obviously slung the ball pretty well, but whether he's the guy yet or not, I don't know.
Well, let me rephrase that then. Did he miss open guys? like we saw a lot of with Milton.
I don't recall seeing a lot of open guys get missed, but then again, you got to give him the benefit too, because it was the first game. It was also the first couple drives. He was probably all jacked up with his adrenaline. So
yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I feel
Okay.
like I say that a lot on the podcast. Is I don't know.
Well, you know,
I
hey,
know.
I mean, half of this is just conjecture anyway, right? But
yeah.
But it's just fun. Yeah. All right. I did want to say one thing about the Georgia South Carolina game. Obviously, we won. We should have. It was, you know, should have pummeled them. What I am frustrated about is you're rolling in the game. Your first 2 possessions, you get touchdowns. Third possession of the game, you roll out Stetson Bennett out there. And I get it. The guy has been loyal to Georgia. He's been through a lot. But that's just an absolute momentum killer when you've been rolling along. And, you know, the first pass with Bennett in is a pick. And I remember thinking, like, so I had walked out of the room for a second and I walked back in and I was like, oh, wow, JT, man, he just made a mistake. And then I looked and it's Bennett. And I was like, why is he in the game? And like, don't get me wrong. I like the guy, you know, he's a Georgia boy, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But why are we breaking the momentum? We're rolling along. And I can't remember if it was Holly Rowe, who was the sideline reporter. Anyways, one of them was saying that Kirby had said that both quarterbacks had earned the right to play. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, is this real life? Like, are we looking at the same thing? Because again, I get it. Bennett has been, you know, good when we needed him last year and everything. But man, there's no comparison. I don't think when JT's in the game, you're stretching the field. He's, you know, making those touch passes to the guys on the outside. And it just, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. You talk about, I don't know, Matt. I watched that and I was like, what are we doing? Like you curb stomp the competition and then you put in the second guy, not like, oh, we scored a couple touchdowns. Let's push pause on the game and just sort of do this. No, you keep rolling. Like I didn't get it. So
it's not upward. Not everybody gets to play. Not everybody is a winner.
It was a point of, and don't get me wrong. Like I said, we were able to do what we needed to do, but my gosh, it was just a point of frustration with me. I was like, we can't do this. We can't do things like this. Especially when you're dealing, you know, you have to consider things with like the committee later on too. It's not just about winning the game. You got to look stellar doing it. So we can't do any of this. Oh, well, we scored a couple of times. Let's just roll out somebody else at quarterback now. Like I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. The whole situation in that score sounds really weird. Like it would almost be like the equivalent of, I'll give you an example. And I'm not saying that not Stetson Bennett. What's the other fellow's name?
JT Daniels.
Thank you.
Daniels.
I'm not saying JT Daniels is Peyton Manning by any stretch of the imagination. But if Philip Fulmer in 1996 or 1995 had decided after a couple touchdowns against Florida to pull Peyton Manning out and put in like Todd Helton or something, or not Todd Helton, who was his backup?
Todd Helton's a baseball player.
Yes, but he was also Peyton Manning's backup when he was at Tennessee. So I did get that name right. It was Todd Helton. It's jarring. It makes no sense. And I don't understand why Kirby makes that decision. And he's done it a couple times, right? Didn't he do that in the first game too?
Well, no. So the second game, JT was kind of nursing an injury. And
that's right.
That was understandable. And obviously it was against UAB.
It makes no sense to me.
He completed 10 passes. 5 of them were touchdowns. So that's kind of how that day went. But yeah, you can't do that against, obviously they still got away with it against South Carolina. But again, it's like, why are we doing this? I could understand, yes, we're way out in the lead and maybe the first half is over. Maybe we're in the third, maybe fourth quarter. Then you start rolling your other guys out. Heck, I'd like to see Brock Vandegrift take a few snaps, maybe even get into your depth chart then, but not in like the first quarter. I mean, that's kind of like, oh well. Anyway, yeah, that was just kind of a rant from me because I was like, and you guys saw me blowing up the group text. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
there was definitely some things said about that.
Yeah.
By the way, I do want to point out this quote by Shane Beamer in regard to Georgia's defense. I thought this was kind of interesting. He said, quote, "They're not doing anything special on defense. They're just really good." Ah! Expert analysis, Shane. Love it.
Hey, I'll take that. Hey, whatever. So,
by the way, that's Shane Beamer's first loss as a head coach is to Georgia. So
yeah,
you got that going for you.
That looks a lot better than your first loss being to East Carolina. So
yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, so after last week's games, the current pick'em standings are Matt is currently in the lead, took the lead there. Look at you.
Yes, sir.
With 13. I got to find an actual clip of Pittman doing that. We can play, you guys can have like a yes, sir competition
Cool.
or whatever. Yeah. And then I have 12 and Jesse has 10. So, I mean, we're all just kind of right there. So I like it. It's exciting and very competitive, not a blowout. So, all right. So that does it for the last week's games. Let's get on to our opinion segment, which I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about this one.
Sir, if I may venture an opinion.
I'm not really interested in your opinion, 3PO.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right, so opinion. And this is not just my opinion. I've been hearing this from several people lately, several experts lately, and that is Matt Corral is the best quarterback in the country right now. I want to know what you guys think. Matt, let's start with you first. Do you agree with this statement? And if not, who would you put there?
I think Bryce Young has something to say about that right now, to be honest with you. Let's remember Bryce Young has looked pretty good, pretty solid here and there. Matt Corral has also looked really good, but I just don't I don't see that someone's going to give the Heisman to Ole Miss unless Ole Miss is winning more football games.
Mm-hmm.
If Ole Miss goes 8-4, no shot. They don't give Heisman's out to teams that are they don't give Heisman's out to individuals on teams that aren't in the national picture. I really think that Bryce Young's is the better angle there, and that's going strictly off of trends that we've seen in the past. The Heisman people, who I already have a very low opinion of to begin with, as we've discussed ad nauseum on the podcast. They're going to look for something flashy. They're going to look for someone who's in the top 3, top 4, top 5, what have you. And I just don't see Ole Miss making that turn. Now I could be wrong. They could surprise us, but I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. Another name that's been thrown around is Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State. He's having a pretty good season up there, carrying the rock for him too. He has 57 carries for 493 yards right now, so and 6 touchdowns. So he's hitting people left and right too. So he's another name that's out there along with Bryce and Matt Corral and the rest. And you know how those Heisman voters love Big Ten teams. So,
right. Jesse, what do you think?
I agree with Matt. I don't, if you would say like, who do you think is the best quarterback in the country? Matt Corral would not come to my mind. And it's not because he's at Ole Miss or plays for Lane Kiffin. I just think while he's done really well so far this year in 3 games, if you remember last year, he was very hot or cold. And that does show some growth for him, but he's not the guy that I'm like, man, he has a lot of moxie. He's like really a team leader. I really see him making it on the national stage. I really see him making an impact and really decimating other schools and maybe, but I would say Bryce Young is obviously a contender, but to be honest, I know we're talking about who is the best quarterback in the country and we're not talking about the Heisman, but I don't know that a Heisman is a quarterback this year.
Who won it last year?
Devontae Smith.
Oh, that's right.
So, so if you don't think it's a quarterback, who's your Heisman front runner right now?
That's tough.
I mean, there's a lot of good names out there, and obviously we're still early too. But
Come on, defense.
yeah, I know, right?
Shoot.
Man, would that be something?
No, absolutely not. Put a cork in that right now. You do not give the Heisman to a guy that plays defense.
It's
I
funny.
think that's ridiculous, and I hope you're joking, Matt. Because
I'm not joking, by God. I'm still
come
pissed
on.
about that daggum fool out of Michigan getting it. Why y'all got to get me worked up?
I was gonna
man? I'm supposed to
say
go to
that
bed
was
in like an hour.
that was Charles Woodson. I can't imagine who he was going against.
That's wrong. That is wrong. And you know
Good time. Good
Anyway,
time.
See, you did that just to needle me. That's not
I actually
right.
didn't. I actually kind of forgot about that.
I didn't.
But,
I just think because I think the Heisman, obviously, I was very excited when Devontae won it, but because of the feelings we have about the Heisman, I just think it'd be fun. Why not? Who cares?
it would be kind of cool. I mean, obviously, if they're a big game changer, which I mean, you can have. I mean, it's not going to be every year, but you've got some. You know, some years you've got your safeties, your DBs who are absolute game changers.
I want a linebacker. I want a linebacker.
Yeah,
Come off it. There's no chance in hell they ever give it to another defensive guy. The only reason Woodson won it in '97 is because he was a punt return specialist.
Yeah.
You know who's the last person I can think who was in the running though? Manti Te'o.
That's right.
And he was.
Is that the fake girlfriend?
Fake girlfriend.
The same
fake
guy.
Girlfriend. Notre Dame fake girlfriend.
Yeah, and what was it that year? He didn't win the Heisman. He won something else.
Maxwell Award, right?
Yeah, it was
can't remember.
something.
But yeah, I remember that, and he was a linebacker, right? Yeah, he was a linebacker. Oh man, how fast we fall, because man, after that whole thing came out, and then when he went to the NFL, he just didn't really.
Yeah,
translate.
he won the Maxwell Award in 2012, the Lott Trophy in 2012, the Chuck Bednarik Award in 2012, the Walter Camp Award in 2012.
He was everything.
The Bronco Nagurski Trophy
Yeah.
in 2012, the Butkus Award in 2012, the Lombardi Award in 2012, and he was a unanimous All-American in 2012.
And everybody was in his corner because they were this horrible story.
His girlfriend is dead.
Right. Well, wasn't it? Well, obviously, so it was like two at once, right? Because his mother also passed, right? Or it was something like that. He had like two deaths in the family.
I just remember the girlfriend, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And then it's like, "Oh no, she ain't real."
Right.
And then obviously it was a typical Notre Dame thing where everyone's like, "Oh my god," hyping them, and then they get to the natty, and it's like, "Oh."
Well, I remember that thing because didn't that come out as being a farce between the Heisman ceremony and the national title? Because that was like a shadow over everything throughout that whole thing.
Oh,
and obviously
we had so many signs.
We know what happened in that national title, which was probably going to happen regardless, but it just made it worse. So
he got catfished, right? Like he didn't make it all up. He got catfished.
Well, that's the theory.
I think he made it up.
I thought he legit got tricked.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia article right now.
But it was a long relationship. It was like many months, right? And like he thought
didn't they do like a news story on it or something?
It was exclusively an online relationship.
They did, but I want to say, did they also have like a stand-in who called him on like a video call once? It seems vaguely familiar. Like anyway, it was wild. It was insane.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not really sure. Oh yeah, we were talking about defensive people in the Heisman. That's how we got on that. So anyway, all right. So I didn't even talk about Matt Corral because we got off on that. But here's the deal with Matt Corral is I think his ceiling is way up there. Like I think the dude can ball out. Obviously, we saw 7 total touchdowns for him last week. However, obviously his style traditionally throughout his playing career has been a little bit more of a risk taker. So I think whereas, your Bryce Youngs and others that are being talked about right now are going to be a little bit more careful with the ball. I think he's going to sling it basically. And that's just kind of his style. And it's, feast or famine. Now they've had a lot more feast lately than famine. But we'll see how that progresses. I think he's got potential. Is he the best quarterback in the country? I don't know. I think he's in the conversation, but I don't know if he's there. So
You look at the stats he is.
yeah.
If you're going straight off stats, he's a little under 1,000 yards right now. I think he's got 8 or 9 touchdowns. The next closest guy is, I think, 600, 700 yards. So
Yeah, right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to our listener feedback. We have one comment to talk about here.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right. In this week's segment, we have one comment from Janet. Shout out to the mother-in-law. She says, I hope Alabama's weaknesses have been exposed and will be worked this week. The Swamp is a difficult place for a visiting team. So even though it was by the skin of our teeth, we came out with a win. Roll Tad, emphasis on the Tad. So I don't know. Obviously, let's just go ahead and talk to you, Jesse, about this one. What do you think about this? I mean, obviously, I assume you agree. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it was exposure weekend. We walked in and, they saw through our makeup and we have to redo it.
Right.
We did not look pretty.
And Matt, as you said earlier, just talking about how they, going into the fourth quarter, yeah, Saban said as much. He said that, we seemed tired down the stretch. And so going to have to fix that. I mean, obviously, I know the strength and conditioning is something that you don't just, flip a switch and all of a sudden,
No, it's not.
We can do that for 4 quarters without getting tired. But it's going to be something they're going to have to begin work on immediately. So.
I can tell you that if Bama plays a quality opponent that plays up, then they're going to run into a world of trouble on that score, especially if they don't fix the problems that they had against Florida.
Yep.
When you're up 21-3 and you let your foot off their neck, that's a bad sign. And so that's something that Saban said in a presser. We got to make sure we keep up the intensity. And I agree with him. You got to keep that intensity up. You can't let up once you got your foot on their neck.
And if Florida had won, I don't know that Bama has given up a lead of that much, like in the past decade, maybe longer.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm trying to think of who it would have been too, but
yeah, it's
probably Auburn.
It's rare.
Sounds like something that happened in an Iron Bowl.
It does.
Maybe.
That's probably why I can't remember it. I've blocked it out.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about this week's upcoming matchups.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right. Matt's got on the hat. He's ready to go. So
it was good luck 2 weeks ago. Let's hope it works again.
That's true. Yeah, there you go. All right, so this week's matchups. The first one we've got is number 2 Georgia at 3-0 at Vanderbilt 1-2. That's a noon kickoff on the SEC network. I think this should be similar to SC last week for Georgia. I think we should maybe win by a little bit more. I got Georgia winning this one 42-9. Jesse?
Yeah, this one's. I mean, yeah. I'm not going to spend too much time. UGA 52-6.
Matt?
Yeah, Vanderbilt is going to be in for a long afternoon. So yeah, I'm going to say UGA wins this thing too, but I'm going to say they get a score after in a couple field goals. So I'm going to say UGA wins 42-13.
All right. Next we have LSU at 2-1 at Mississippi State 2-1. That's a noon kickoff on ESPN. If you guys recall last year, first game of the season, Mississippi State passing all over that LSU defense. I don't know if
we had so much hype.
I don't know if we're going to see more of the same in this game, but experts picking LSU to win in a close one. I'm going to go with the upset here. I think it's going to be fairly close, but I'm going to flip it. I'm going to go with Mississippi State winning this one 30-27.
So you think whatever needs to get boosted gets boosted?
Whatever needs to get boosted.
Even though sometimes boosted things we don't know that they need to be boosted, but they get boosted?
Don't know what we're going to boost, but we're going to boost
and it's
something.
It's Mike Leach's job to boost the thing that needs to get boosted so we can boost it so we can boost the thing.
Yeah.
And boost the thing,
Exactly.
Boost all the things. So
if you're a Mississippi State fan and you don't have that on a t-shirt on game day at some point, then I'm very disappointed.
They're more mature than us. I don't know what that means, but
oh man.
I wish I could pick Mike Leach, but I just cannot. I think it's close, but I'm going to pick LSU 28-24.
All right, Matt, what you got?
Yeah, this is a toss up. This is a 50-50. I think Mississippi State's going to come off of that loss against Memphis. I think they're going to be a little bit more focused in practice this week, but I think LSU's just got more talent. And I think that LSU is going to win this thing 21-14.
Okay. Next, we have Mizzou at 2-1 at Boston College 3-0. That's noon on ESPN2. I think this is another close one, and I am going to go with Mizzou on this one, but I think it's going to be tough. And I may regret this. I got Mizzou winning 31-28. Jesse, what you got?
It could go either way, but I'm picking the upset. Boston College 28-27.
All right, Matt.
I hate picking games like this because you never know what's going to happen. Boston College right now is undefeated. They're 3-0 on the season. They've got wins against Colgate, UMass, and Temple.
They're playing at Boston College.
That won't make a difference.
It won't. It might. You don't know what that atmosphere
Yes, right.
Listen, I have been to New England. They don't do football. They do some resemblance of it. At the collegiate level, let me clarify, not pro. Belichick sold his soul to Satan. Anyway, moving on. Or he's Nick Saban, and they're the same person. Nick Saban being Bill Belichick, not Satan. They're all the same guy. They're like a triple-headed monster.
The triad.
How many offensive things in one sentence?
The coaching triad.
I'm going to say Mizzou squeaks this one out. I'm going to say Mizzou wins 21-20.
All right.
No. Wait, I'm going back. I'm going to say 24. No, I just messed up the page. Hold on.
You messed up the
gosh,
dude.
I did. I did. I'm going to say Mizzou wins 24-16. There we go.
24-16. And thank you for fixing the formatting. I appreciate that.
Yes, just trying to do my part.
Okay. Next, we have number 7, Texas A&M, which I didn't put their record, but they're 3-0 versus number 16 Arkansas 3-0. That's 3:30 on CBS from the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. So I'm actually really excited about this one because I think that A&M is not as good as we think they are, or a lot of people think they are. And I think Arkansas is on a roll right now. And I think you don't want to play Arkansas right now because they're just in that frame of mind that they can beat anybody right now. They're rolling, and I think it's going to continue. If I am an A&M fan, I am worried about this one. I'm going to pick Arkansas winning this one 28-21. Jesse, what you got?
Okay. A little showdown in Fayetteville. Okay. I truly would love to pick Arkansas, like truly. But I am going to pick Texas A&M. Ooh.
Pains you, I know.
24. It hurts on a spiritual level.
Matt, what do you got?
I'm going to go ahead and get it ready. Yes, sir. Lock it up. Arkansas is going to win this thing 20-17.
Look at Arkansas being ranked, y'all.
I know, right? 3-0. They're on a roll.
1998 all over again.
Telling you.
How fun.
All right, let's get to Georgia State at 1-2 at number 23 Auburn 2-1. This is a 4:00 kickoff on the SEC Network. Auburn's gonna steamroll Georgia State. I got Auburn 41-17. Jesse?
Yeah, Auburn's at home. Don't trust it. Don't get your hopes up. Auburn 44-17.
Oh, we got to come up with something else. So the sweater vest is gone.
It is.
So what do they have now?
I don't know.
There's no more Gus Bus.
We got to figure out. We got to figure out what he wears and what he.
Yeah.
Well, obviously he didn't wear what he was supposed to wear because they lost to Penn State last week.
He didn't.
Gus Malzahn would not have lost that game.
Yeah, he would have lost to Central Florida. So
yes, that's exactly right.
Who ironically he coaches for now. So yeah, did we get everybody's picks on that one?
No, I gotta get Matt.
Okay, what you got, Matt?
Always skipping me, man.
Well,
Yeah.
you spoke and I lost my concentration. Sorry.
That's
Anyway.
true. That's true. Listen, Auburn's going to be really, really, really angry.
Yeah.
Really, really, really angry. In fact, they may be like biblically angry. So this is going to be awful. This is going to be terrible. There was also a tweet that I sent to you guys earlier. And we need to confirm. We need to confirm this. I looked around. I don't know if it's.
I didn't see it. That doesn't mean it didn't
not.
happen, but I didn't.
That's
see
true.
it.
But
it might have been removed.
It might have been. I want to put this out there for consumption. We're not confirming this. This is an alleged quote. But according to Warblogle on Twitter, the tweet says this: whether he was joking or not, Georgia State's head coach just said this and other egregious things, including downplaying the Eagle in his weekly presser. And this is a quote from their coach, allegedly. What do I got to be scared of? Couple former SEC assistants with losing coaching records, not impressed by ranked Auburn.
What does downplaying the Eagle mean? Look at that Eagle. Look at that Eagle.
Know.
He can't even fly right.
I don't know. I don't even. Who is the head coach at Georgia State?
I looked him up. I don't remember his name.
Sean Elliott.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't find anything that confirmed that. Although it looked like basically he knew what he was walking into. He was like, yeah, I mean, they're going to be great because they're Auburn. I mean, they're going to have their recruits because they're Auburn. So
you guys, I'm looking at a picture of this guy, and
yeah,
he looks like a yokel. He looks like he would say something like that. So, hold on a minute.
Is it confirmed?
Hold on a second. No, just another little interesting little tidbit. Apparently, he coached under under Steve Spurrier. Which there's your coaching tree with a little bit of fruit at the end of it. So that might be where that quote came from. Maybe he learned something from Steve.
Y'all, those quotes may be real because I have just found a whole list of this press conference.
Oh my.
Let us begin.
Oh man.
Is this what you need to do? Give them bulletin board material.
Welcome to the Tea Corner. It is just Monday. We ain't been preparing much for them. Let's see. He said, if you look at their interior defensive line, they've got some mammoth men in there. They're talented. And then he said, where is it at? Just because they got a big old stadium and they like to cheer and there is going to be a little eagle flyover, I don't think we're going to be shell-shocked.
Oh, honey, what are you doing?
Oh, it gets better. No, this one. No one is going to put a ring on your finger for going out and beating Auburn. He said, too, we felt like we could play with them. It is really no different if you go play in Auburn or Alabama or in Charlotte. We are going to surge through this Auburn bunch and see if we can find some creases in that defense and some struggles in that offense where we can control this game and see what happens.
Guys, this is a team that this season has lost to Army and North Carolina.
Can I change my pick to like 80-0 because they're just going to pour it on.
They might have
a little old eagle flyover just because they like to cheer.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Why would you do that to your players?
Right. Because don't get me wrong, I can't stand Auburn as a Georgia fan, but I'm not going to say that kind of stuff about them before a game. You don't want your coach to say that about them before you go into a game. It's just asking for trouble. Why? Why? Especially if you're Georgia State, you're going to get pummeled anyway.
What are you doing, bro?
Anyway.
Sorry, that was Tea Corner.
No, that was good. I appreciate that because it.
Oh my God!
It gives a lot of context for what's going to happen.
Oh, and do you know where I just read all of that from?
Not Warblogle, was it?
The Auburn Plainsmen. Auburn covered that.
Yeah.
That so they know. They heard you. Ooh.
Yeah. All right. So note to self, things not going to end well for Georgia State this week. All right, let's move on to Tennessee at Florida, number 11, Florida. Both these teams 2-1 right now. 7 o'clock on ESPN. Now, look, I think Florida's got to be careful, though, here, because they're coming off like a brutal game, physical game against Bama. They're going to be a little bit beat up because of that game. Also a danger of possibly overlooking Tennessee, and I'm not discrediting Tennessee, but I'm just saying they might think, okay, we played against Bama and we hung with them, so we should be able to beat Tennessee, right? And I think this is one of those deals where Mullen's got to get his team focused, because if they're not careful, I think they could drop this one. I really do. It's a danger. It's a kind of a trap game, so to speak. But I don't know. I'm just going to kind of go with my gut as far as what the experts think. I got Florida winning this one 35-21, but they need to be careful. Jesse, what you got?
I agree with you there. I think they definitely need to be careful. It's advantageous for them because they're again at the Swamp. So that helps, but I'm going to pick the Gators 31-14.
Okay. Matt, what you got?
If you follow me on Twitter, this afternoon I actually retweeted a picture. There's a picture of Ben Affleck. You've seen the picture of Ben Affleck looking very downtrodden, smoking a cigarette, standing outside a
downtrodden now.
Very downtrodden. But somebody has superimposed an orange sweater with Tennessee across the chest on him. And obviously I retweeted that and I said mood, because that's the mood. What I want to have happen is I want a repeat of the 2001 Tennessee-Florida game where it comes down to a field goal and somebody kicks and Tennessee puts a field goal through the uprights as time expires. That's what I want to have happen. I would love to do that in Florida Stadium, to do that to them at night in the Swamp. That'd be great. What I think is going to actually happen, though, is that Florida's probably going to beat the brakes off us for 3.5 quarters and then put their second and third strings in, and then we'll close it up to make it look tighter than it is. Our offense is decent, or at least it's looked decent. I don't know how it's going to stack up against an SEC defense. This will be the first true test. I don't know how our defense is going to stack up against their offense. I'm hoping, like you said, Wes, that they're beat up and a little hungover and a little winded after going toe-to-toe with Bama. I'm hoping that we catch them, but I don't think we will. And so I'm going to say Florida wins this thing 28-21.
28-21 or 28-14?
Well, 28-14. 28-14.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Looking at the wrong thing.
I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm going to definitely be tuned into that one. So, all right. Next we have Kentucky at 3-0 at South Carolina 2-1, 7 o'clock on ESPN2. I think so. This one will probably be fairly close. I think Kentucky does have the edge, though. South Carolina is improved from last year, obviously, but I don't think that they're quite where the Kentucky program is. I got Kentucky winning this one 27-21. Jesse?
Yeah, I think these are two well-matched teams, but I am going to give it to the Wildcats 28-21.
Okay, Matt?
I want to point out the stat that I read that said that Kentucky has won 7 out of the last 8 contests against South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
However, I was not overly impressed with what we saw at Kentucky last weekend. They looked beatable. They shouldn't have struggled with UTC like they did, but they did. So I'm actually going to call the upset here. I'm going to say that Carolina finds a way. Shane Beamer gets his first big SEC win, and I'm going to say South Carolina wins this thing 20-17.
Okay. And that would be something.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
All the Carolina fans around me would be very happy.
That's true. Yeah.
Very happy.
I want it to be a competitive game, but I just have this gut instinct that says that South Carolina is going to find a way to make this thing happen. I'm probably completely wrong, and Kentucky will beat them like 45-10, but we'll see.
We'll see. All right. And then finally, we have Southern Miss 1-2 at number 1 Alabama 3-0. 7:30 on SEC Network. This is going to be like one of those tune-up games. Bama's going to have in all their third stringers by the second quarter, and they win this one soundly, 55-3. Matt, I'm laughing. Jesse, what do you got?
I am not as confident as Matt is. I'm very confident in this game. I hope we got chewed out this week. I hope practice goes well and that we get our head in the game. And I'm picking Bama 47-10.
47-10. All right, Matt.
33 field goals in this game for Bama's kickers. 99-0 is the final score.
Oh my gosh.
If you leave that score in there and you get the point for that.
So
no, I won't do that. All right.
Okay, I was gonna say the next thing is, are you gonna change it or?
No,
I know. I was like, leave it.
I was gonna wait a minute, but I probably should. I'm gonna say Bama wins this thing. Let's say 66-10.
Okay.
Nice number. So 66. Nick Saban seems appropriate. He'll probably like sixes.
Uh-huh.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Hater.
Okay. All right. So let's get to our Just for Fun segment of this week. And I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say on this one. If you had to pick an SEC head coach to be your meal planner for the week, who would it be and why? I'll go first because I really want to hear what you guys have to say. And I think if I had to pick, I would go with Sam Pittman, because the dude is a competitive barbecue master. And it's just going to be nothing but good stuff to eat. That's where my mind went. Jesse, what you got?
I think I'm going to go with Mike Leach.
Okay.
Because I feel like he probably reads like old pirate cookbooks and is adventurous in his cuisine. And then he probably is also, if he makes something and it tastes really terrible, he's probably like, we'll go get a Happy Meal. It's fine.
Right. You open your meal prep kit for lunch and there's like a stuffed pheasant.
There's stuffed pheasant. There is like seared ahi tuna, maybe some octopus. I don't know. It could get weird, but then also he'll be like, you did a good job though this week. I threw in some popcorn shrimp. Like, I don't know.
I love it. Matt, what you got?
Before we get into who I would like to pick, I want to talk about who I wouldn't pick, and that'd be Kirby Smart, because Kirby Smart strikes me as the kind of guy that would probably just hand you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and say, here, just because he seems very no frills, not very exciting, kind of bland, much like his teams. And
have fun. Enjoy it.
Sorry, I'll get that back in November when they beat us like 56-3. Who I would rather have picking out, and y'all aren't gonna believe me when I say this, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say Eli Drinkwitz, and here's why. Drinky strikes me as being very bougie, very kind of hoity-toity, to turn a phrase. So I think his spread would be very kind of continental, also a lot of French cuisine, which could be kind of fun. I like a lot of foie gras, maybe some escargot, something really fancy. Something he would bring out on a plate that's this big, and it's just like a chip and a little piece of cheese. Like he strikes me as being that kind of guy. Now that would be fun just for the experience of it. Obviously, when you actually got into, is this going to actually be food worth eating? Obviously, that wouldn't be the case. But
I know I was sad Gus Malzahn was no longer in the mix, because I would have chosen him in the charcuterie board that he would have prepped for you
in his sweater vest
when he wasn't at Waffle House. So
Gustavo Malzahn, whatever his name was.
Arthur Gustavo Malzahn III.
Exactly. Hey, the pate that would have been on that board.
Speaking of former SEC coaches, you know what you get from Derek Mason? Protein drink. Just a protein shake. Powder. That's all it would be.
Gatorade gel.
It would just be, that would be it.
I was thinking
Nick Saban is gonna prep you two Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies in the morning.
That's exactly what. So I forgot to say this. I don't want Saban to plan my meals because I don't want like oatmeal cream pies and a Coke for breakfast every day.
It works.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. It works for him, I guess, but
For him,
whatever. Also, I feel like Eli Drinkwitz would have something nutritional because we got to get you ready for Toughness Tuesday and circle the wagons. And so, yeah, all that stuff. So
Circle the wagons, he's making straight chili, but it's like low cal chili. And you're just like, okay.
yeah, you've circled the wagons, but you're cooking low-cal chili. You've lost all credibility. Okay. So.
You know what though? I could see Mike Leach like doing like some experimental like gastro what's it called? Like making milkshakes with
gastronomy.
like
Yeah. Oh
yes. Like some ridiculous stuff. Like I could see Mike Leach totally doing that.
He might also feed you slime on accident. Who knows?
You know who else it would be fun to eat like him for a week would be Coach O.
Chicken on a stick?
That was actually going to be my second choice because I like spicy stuff anyway. He's got all that Cajun stuff going on.
Jambalaya.
Except what he talks about is chicken on a stick,
right? Fried chicken
ham
on a stick.
sandwiches.
Right. You're like, wait, surely you didn't have that on the bayou, right? Like, come on now.
Ed, I think you're missing something.
Yeah. Now you know Lane is over there with his
Taco Bell.
I was going to say his
Taco Bell.
I was going to say his California burgers and his avocado toast.
Oh my! Yeah, he's definitely
he's
definitely
moss. The Taco Bell.
The moss.
He's got a whatever you call like the Mountain Dew green breeze drink.
Yeah. The big gulp.
The big gulp. He's got the thing that they're talking about constantly. The chicken sandwich taco. He's in it.
Yeah.
What about Jimbo?
I was just
Jimbo's
thinking about
Jimbo. Just a giant porterhouse with a mountain full of mashed potatoes. Probably that's every meal.
Probably.
See, I can see the wheels grinding around.
Trying to think of what's an average used car salesman's meal.
General Tso's chicken. I don't know.
Oh man.
I don't know. Anything's gonna be better than Harbaugh and his steak and milk. That's because that's what you'd get.
Well, we know what's his name.
Side of khakis.
We know that Shane Beamer is Chick-fil-A because he's a Chick-fil-A franchisee, right?
Really?
Remember that thing we were passing around, and it was like, if I didn't know that these guys were head coaches, based on their appearance, this is what I think their jobs would be. Yeah. And he was the Chick-fil-A franchisee. And
he's also carrying it in one of the big old giant, like old school pails, like his dad used to have up at Virginia Tech for the defense to carry around.
Right. Oh man, I love it. Because each of these coaches has their own personality, and I love how all these things like translate to that. So.
Yeah.
What's Mullen eating?
Oh gosh.
Is it bad that the first thing that came to my mind was ho-hos? I don't know why.
No. That's Frost. Freeze. Sorry, you freeze. Thank you. You freeze. I botched my own joke, but yeah.
Whatever. But the sad thing is that we knew what you meant.
I made it to connect. It was topical.
Mullen is eating like whatever cousin Eddie eats.
I was thinking, you know how in
green Jello,
or in when they're all at the dinner table and he's got the big bowl of mashed potatoes, he scoops some out, takes a bite, and then puts the big spoon back. That's what Dan Mullen's doing. Oh man. All right. Well, that's a good note to end it on. Let's get you out of here. If you would like to contact us, please hit us up in email at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. Also, check us out on Twitter at PPSEC Podcast. We can also be found on Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. We're available for download on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. Again, super proud to be a part of the Blue Wire Hustle program, and looking forward to more days with that. So if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and review. We'd love 5 stars to tell people just how awesome we are. Until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
All right, y'all. We can do this. We're not going to drink the rat poison. It's going to be fine. Don't start bar fights. Roll Tide.
Drink the rat poison. Please. Also, all we're asking for, please, is please let Tennessee beat Florida this weekend. Please let Tennessee beat Florida this weekend. Please. Please. Go Vols.
Good times.
Chaos.